It's good to see you here at Leader U. And on behalf of the Board of Directors of Professional Educators, I would like to welcome you. And we're very excited that you're here. We're very excited about the day, what is in store for you, for learning more about what we need to do to be better teachers, and also just to kind of pump us up to get ready for as we begin a new year in August. We used to say September, didn't we? But of course it's in August that we begin. Some of you begin in July, I think. But we're really glad you're here, and we know that you're going to take away some things today that you can use in the classroom this next year. I want to say, especially we have teachers and administrators from public and private education and from all across the state, and we're very excited that all of you are here. Remember that all sessions of Leader U will be videotaped for future use by professional educators of Tennessee. And also it will be on our website for you to see later on if you would like to go back to that. We have members of PET here as well as non-members, and we're glad to have all of you here regardless of your membership. We're glad that you're here. I want to recognize some special people that are here today. All of you are special, but there's some people that I wanted to recognize especially. The presenters, the people who will be presenting today in the classes that you guys will be in. I'm going to ask if the presenters will stand at this time. Thank you. And we also have vendors here. If there are vendors in the room at this time, please stand, or if you're already standing, wave your hand, please. We're glad you're here. You've really helped to make this this convention successful for us, and we appreciate that. All of you, please stop by the various booths during the day today and see what information is there for you that might be of benefit to you throughout the year. And one more time, I'm going to ask the presenters to stand or wave their hands. I mean, not presenters, I'm sorry, the vendors. We also have today a very special guest with us that we as the board of PET are especially happy that is here. Dr. Bernard Bull, who is really the PET founder, and we're going to ask him to stand at this time, please. Dr. Bull. Thank you for all you've meant to PET, Dr. Bull, and we're really glad you're here. Also, we have legislators here today. If you are a legislator, would you please stand or wave your hand, because I see some standing there that are. Yeah. Thank you for being here. Would the Board of Directors at this time, the Board of Directors for PET, please stand and let us recognize you. Thank you. And also, very important, the integral part of PET, our staff who work so hard day in and day out to provide and give us benefits and to look for more benefits. Would the PET staff please stand or wave at this time? And a very special welcome to, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Janice Al-Utabay. Janice is the winner of the Facebook Leader U 2013 sweepstakes. She received free conference registration and hotel stay. So Janice, would you please stand at this time? Okay, I want to just kind of call your attention to some of your materials that are in your folder. I'm sure you've had a chance to look at those already, and you have noticed the welcome letters there from the governor, the lieutenant governor, and various legislators who work with Pet and Tim Brinegar as he is on the Hill, and we appreciate all these welcoming letters from them. There's also a legislative update in your paperwork that you'll see from Tim Brinegar, our government relations director. Also, make sure that you, of course, are looking at the conference agenda. As you see, what you are registered for is on the back of your name tag. You've probably already seen that. And the classes where they will be, each of the classes where they will be. Also, for lunch, you are on your own. There is a restaurant map located in your folder too, along with, I think there's some coupons there too that you might want to use. If you would like, those are there for you also. Remember that the afternoon session begins promptly at 1:30. So please be in your designated place for your class at 1:30 as those begin for the afternoon session. Remember also, at the end of the day, you have in your packet a survey. Make sure that you turn in your completed survey at the registration desk, and that is where you will receive your certificate of participation after the completion of your final class, which is all very important that we need to take back to our school districts to prove that we have been here and learned much today at Leader U. All documents, PowerPoints, recorded sessions will be available, as I mentioned before, after the conference on our webpage. It's www.leaderutn.com, and that will be available to you, and that's the website where you will go to find that. At this time, it is my distinct privilege to introduce to you our MC for Leader U, Mr. Steve Gill. He was here last year as our MC and did a fantastic job. Very knowledgeable person that we are very glad to have with us today. When I read his credentials, you're going to see that. Steve Gill is a former basketball star at the University of Tennessee, a White House Fellow, U.S. International Trade Official, attorney, college professor, international businessman, and son of an Air Force fighter pilot. He has seen the many faces of America over the years in these different capacities in which he has served. For the last decade, Steve has dominated Nashville talk radio on Fox News Radio, WLAC 1510 AM, and Super Talk, WWTN 99.7 FM. Steve has been the chief political analyst for WKRN News 2, which is ABC affiliate in Nashville. He has also made frequent appearances as a political commentator on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, and other media outlets in the U.S. and abroad. Currently, Steve hosts the daily Gill Report and is a favorite speaker and consultant. He is also a published author, has been a longtime friend and advocate for teachers, and is a proud associate member of Professional Educators of Tennessee. Please, along with me, welcome Steve Gill.
Thank you, Karen. For anybody that's been a long-time UT basketball fan, you already know that her statement of me as a star is vastly overstated. I played during the Ernie Grunfeld, Bernard King era, and for anybody who remembers those days in UT basketball, nobody ever refers to that other guard, Steve Gill. It's the Ernie and Bernie show. So thank you for the kind words, though. And frankly, those of you who have had students that had to repeat a class or repeat a year, you understand actually why I'm back. Apparently, I didn't do the job well enough last year, and JC has said I've got to come back and do it until I can graduate from Pet Leader U. So you all may be seeing me for years and years to come. I told somebody last year that Leader U is a great learning institution. It does not have a football team, but some of my UT fans have reminded me that maybe we haven't really in the last couple of years either. Hopefully that's going to start changing as we move ahead. So Leader U may just need to get a football team. There's coaches out there and available. I wanted to start by saying my dad, as was mentioned, was in the Air Force. He was an Air Force fighter pilot, and I grew up attending 10 different schools from Anchorage, Alaska to Miami, Florida before I got out of school. And as I think I probably mentioned last year, as I think back on the teachers that affected my life so much, and I think back on names and faces of teachers that were so important. My grandmother was a teacher for 40 years. Anybody from Knoxville? Chilhowie Elementary School. Bessie Hare Moats taught at Chilhowie 6th grade for 40 years. The interesting thing, as you all know from being teachers, is that your classes never age. They're always the same age. And I remember my grandmother used to always talk about the fact that she would run into kids years later, and they would not look anything like the 6th grade boy or 6th grade girl that they remembered, but she could remember exactly what seat they sat in once she knew the name, exactly where they sat, what they looked like. They were fixed in time, and for all the time she taught, they were all in that same age group. So even though we age, those kids that we teach tend to kind of be stuck in time. And those teachers that we have in our minds from years past also are really stuck in our minds. I finished up at Farragut High School in Knoxville, and I was talking with a student, a friend of mine had a daughter that was just graduating from Farragut, and I was asking her about, whether any of the teachers that were there, back in the 1800s when I attended, were still teaching. And one of my favorite teachers was who taught advanced algebra, was Ms. Day. And I was shocked, I was appalled, and I've got to track down Ms. Day and apologize to her that when I was talking with this young lady, she mentioned that she had Miss Day. I said, oh man, I loved Miss Day. We dubbed her Doodah. And she goes, oh my God, yes, Doodah Day. For 30 years now, the nickname I gave this poor teacher has stuck for 30 years as Doodah Day. And it was not a disrespect. It was a compliment to her. She embraced it. And frankly, I'm a little bit thrilled that 30 years later, they're still calling her Doodah Day to her face. So as I think back on the teachers that I challenged then, I'm just proud to know that I'm still challenging them now, 30, 40 years later, in classrooms where they don't even know what kind of damage I am continuing to do to them. I bring that up because you all may never see some of the students that you have so much influence on. Again, I think back of some of those that have had so much influence on me over my lives that I'll never have a chance to say thank you. Never have a chance to go back and point out how a love of literature or a love of plays, you have students, if you teach and take them to a play in 5th grade, that may be their first time that they are ever given the opportunity to see live theater in action. They may not go on to become playwrights, but they may have a love of plays for the rest of their lives. They may not go and become great writers just because they take your writing class, but they may be in a book club that brings them great joy for the rest of their lives. You don't know how you touch people. And on behalf of all those students, and I apologize, who can't, thank you. Thank you for what you do. My grandmother had a poem. You can tell I'm the grandson of 2 teachers and the son of a teacher. My grandmother had a poem that she had on her refrigerator that literally became yellowed with age. And it was one of her favorite poems, so I thought I would just share it with you this morning as we kick off. You may have seen it, you may have heard it before. Glennis Harmon wrote this poem in 1948. It probably should be out there more often than it is. But my grandmother literally had this on her refrigerator for as long as I can remember. They ask me why I teach. They ask me why I teach, and I reply, where could I find more splendid company? There sits a statesman, strong, unbiased, wise, another later Webster, silver-tongued, and there a doctor whose quick, steady hand can mend a bone or stem the lifeblood's flow. A builder sits beside him, Upward rise the arches of a church he builds, wherein that minister will speak the word of God and lead a stumbling soul to teach the Christ. And all about a lesser gathering of farmers, merchants, teachers, laborers, men who work and vote and build and plan and pray, into a great tomorrow. And I say, I may not see the church, I may not hear the word, I may not eat the food their hands will grow, and yet I may. And later I may say, I knew the lad. He was strong or weak or kind or proud or bold or gay. I knew him once, but then he was a boy. They ask me why I teach, and I reply, where could I find more splendid company? As teachers, you all have an influence that extends far beyond what you know in your classroom. As teachers, you have an influence on our state, on our present, on our future, and for generations to come. And again, I thank you on behalf of all the students that you've had, that you've touched, that are not here today to be able to do that, who cannot seek you out, who can't find you, the teachers that are among you, the teachers that have gone before you, the students that you've had, the students that you will have, are all part of that great panorama that makes what you do so important. And while teachers are constantly criticized, while everybody's trying to education reform and fix education and tell you all how to do what you do, I just wanted to make sure that we took this time today to say thank you for what you do and thank you for what you've done. Melanie Willits is an accomplished vocalist, director, and a teacher. She's an alumna of Lee University. If anybody's been down to Cleveland lately, you might not recognize Lee University, by the way. Lee University is growing by leaps and bounds. It is the university that is eating Bradley County. So I encourage you to go down and take a visit at some point before it extends beyond the boundaries of Bradley County. She served as minister of music for churches in Maryland, Virginia, Tennessee, and has been a clinician at a number of workshops and conferences around the country. She's been a lead vocalist with the Grammy-nominated group Sacred Groove, which is a contemporary gospel jazz ensemble, a vocalist for the Metropolitan Big Band on their Israeli 2010 tour. She currently serves as a lead vocalist for two big jazz bands, the Chattanooga Monday Night Big Band and Sweet Georgia Sound, as well as a Tuxedo T-shirt, which is a jazz R&B band. She lives in Cleveland, Tennessee, where she serves as the voice of Lee. If you call the university to schedule your visit there, you will probably talk to her. She runs the switchboard, and she's currently enrolled as a graduate student at the School of Religion. In December of 2013, she will receive her MA in Ministry Studies, and she's going to help us start the day with a little music.
Blue skies smiling on me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Bluebirds singing a song, nothing but blue skies from now on. I never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, watching all the clouds hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly, all those blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Blue skies smiling on me. Nothing but blue skies from now on. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right, watching all the clouds hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly, all the blue days, all of them gone, nothing but blue skies from now on. Blue skies nothing but blue skies do I see. Those bluebirds singing a song, nothing but blue skies from now on. I never saw the sun shining so bright. When you're in love, everything's right, watching all the clouds hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly, all those blue days, nothing but blue skies, nothing but blue skies, nothing but blue skies from now on. Thank you. Thank you so much, and I'm so glad it was a sunny day, because that would have been a very awkward song to sing if we had thunderstorms going on, but you know, we can make it up. I'm really, really glad to be here. I'm gonna stop that because I want to talk. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you all for inviting me, for letting me be a part of this. I have been a private voice teacher. I have taught. I was an education, music education major in my undergrad, and so my heart is definitely tied up in education. I have so much respect and so much appreciation for all that you do. And I'm sure that I just felt smarter when I came in the room. Just as soon as I walked in, I felt so much smarter. So thank you for that. I know, but we probably have some cum laude graduates in here. Anyone? Any summa cum laude? Magna cum laude? Okay, well, I graduated praise the laude. So, but you really do. You're doing wonderful, wonderful things, and I want to thank you for all that you're doing. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see clouds of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They'll learn so much more than I'll ever know. And I think to thank you for all that you do to make this world wonderful. Thank you. Now, I really toyed with which song to do last, and I started to do, well, no offense to anyone in the room. I'm going to say it, though. I am not a country music fan. I'm sorry. I know I'm in Nashville. I felt like I should do something from the country music genre, but I just couldn't do it. I'm so sorry. So if you were expecting Boot Scootin' Boogie, I don't have it with me today. Sorry. But I did bring probably my most requested song. Now, it is a love song. So if you're here and your significant other is with you and you want to join hands or embrace or whatever, that's fine. If not, just embrace that cup of coffee, because if you're like me, that is my first love anyhow. And you know, speaking of first loves, it's really good to see JC and Bethany today. They're really good friends of mine, and I'm so proud and honored to know JC and Bethany Bowman. JC started out with nothing, and he still has most of it. So he's a great guy. They're great friends of mine. You know, Bethany married JC because she never could really resist a good bargain, and we all know he's kind of half off. So, but they've lasted a long time. They are great folks. They're a match made in heaven. Of course, so is Thunder and Lightning, but that's a whole different story. Thank you, JC and Bethany, for inviting me, for letting me be a part of this. They truly are dear friends of mine, and I'm so glad that they're here. So I'll dedicate this to you two, lovebirds, even though you're miles apart from each other right now. But again, just feel free to get schmoopy. My lonely days are over, and life is like a song. Oh, yes, at last, skies above are blue. My heart was wrapped in clover the night I looked at you. I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that I could call my own. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, a thrill that I had never known. And you smiled. Then the spell was cast, and here we are in heaven, for you are mine at last. I found a dream that I could speak to, a dream that I could call my own. I found a thrill to press my cheek to, a thrill that I had never known. You smiled, And here we are in heaven. For you are mine at last. You are mine at last. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Melanie. That was brilliant. And about that whole country thing, remember, Kid Rock is doing country now, so never say never. You never know where the path. Hey, we've got some gifts, by the way. Some of you all registered early and quick, and this is also a reminder not only to check out the sponsors in the back, those who have the booths, but also when the first emails come out next year to register for Leader U, you want to jump right on it because we've got a couple of gifts. And the first is Conrad DeBaca from Metro Nashville, because he was the first person to register, and therefore he gets one of two $50 Sam's Gift Club gift certificates. Conrad, are you here? Where's Conrad? There's Conrad. I'll bring it back to you when I come back down there. And then the 100th person, it just pays to be lucky and be on the right number. The 100th person to register is Mark Raymond from Knoxville Christian School. Knoxville Christian School. We'll get this to Mark. And then the Costco Door Prize. Now, this is the president's pick, President Kathy Kolb. And the way this was done, it was done by random choice. They just picked a random number and then which person had registered that tied to that number. And number 29 was the magic number. And number 29 was the person who registered, Dana Craddock from Obion County. Dana? That big thing there, that big box there is yours. Since he's close, that worked out good as well. By the way, it just occurred to me, this is the most time I've spent with teachers, and somebody has not suggested I go to the principal's office. So this is a red letter day for me as well. As I was listening to Melanie sing, and the socialization process came to mind about schools, and I noticed you all kind of meeting and greeting and getting to know each other's in the before time. It reminded my youngest son, Ryan, has just finished his senior year in high school, and I, with my Irish background, with my clear gift of gab, I don't know where Ryan got it, but he talked a lot in school. Both of my sons, according to their test scores, were extremely bright. Both of my sons, according to their grade point averages, really liked to socialize, in addition to being very bright. Ryan was taking math one year when he was in like 6th or 7th grade, and the teacher said he is doing so well in math that he finishes his work so quick that then he wants to talk to all the other students who aren't necessarily as quick at doing the math work because all his friends are in class with him. Has anybody ever had kids like that in your... So the solution the teacher suggested is, let's move Ryan to another class where he doesn't know all the kids, and that way we'll be able to keep him a little bit more focused on the work. We quickly learned that what we had actually done under the doctrine of unintended consequences is put Ryan in a whole new room with a whole bunch of kids he didn't know, so he had even more kids he wanted to socialize with. So as we kind of look at some of the education reforms that we're going to be talking about today, we want to always keep in mind that doctrine of unintended consequences, that when you do one thing, you may end up with a different result. So let's keep that in mind as we talk about education reform. A guy who's been focused on that, who does like talking to people as well, is David Saba. He is the Chief Operating Officer of the National Math and Science Initiative. Prior to the merger of NMSI and laying the foundation, he was the CEO of Laying the Foundation. He wanted to Laying the Foundation to help build a research base to demonstrate teacher training effectiveness, innovation by taking teacher training program online, and providing long-term strategies for real education reform. Since the merger, NMSI has taken teacher training into 28 states, has received a contract from Park to help create and train the educator leader cadre, and has over 6,600 teachers enrolled in training just this summer. He is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. He served as a helicopter pilot. Give a great welcome to David as he shares some of the thoughts about what we're seeing in teacher training and beyond. David, good to have you.
Good morning. How are you all today? Wow, I almost tripped right off the bat. That would have been great. Hey, so I'm here because I've known JC since 2004. And JC really taught me the first thing that I ever needed to know about working in education. And that is, it's a little bit biblical, but it's basically if you help a lot of people, then they're going to come back and help you. And I learned that right from the start, and I saw that every day when I was working with JC for a couple of years. And you see that here today. All these people came here because at some point JC probably helped them out, and as he helped me out. And so I wanted to come here and help you all out to pay him back. So I thank you, JC, for all that you've done for me and for inviting me here. It was actually Bethany that grabbed me after the first park meeting where we had these educators from all over the country come together and talk about, for the first time, how they were going to implement Common Core in their states. Bethany came up and grabbed me right after I spoke and said, can you be our speaker and I don't even know what date it was. And I said, yeah, sure, Bethany, I'll always help you guys out. And then I realized it was on a Saturday. And I thought, wow, can't believe I did that. But why are you here on a Saturday? Why'd you give up a gorgeous Nashville day to come sit in the Marriott? I hope it's because you want to continue to inspire students. And that's why you gave up your Saturday to share it with us. There is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I am really glad that you guys came here today to help and start and continue to do that work. We all got into education to make a difference. Steve talked about it at the beginning. You wanted to be that teacher or that educator that was going to make a difference in that child's life. I travel all around the country, and I get to meet with a lot of business leaders because we're always asking for money because it's an expensive program that we run. But when I talk to those business leaders and I begin to explain what we do at the National Math and Science Initiative, they all stop. These incredibly successful people always stop, and they get that faraway look in their eye like Steve did, and they remember that one teacher, that one educator that made a difference in their life, that pushed them a little bit harder, that challenged them a little bit more, and that made them the person they are today. And we all started out because we wanted to get into this so that we could be that one teacher for millions and millions of children. But right now in this country, we're not there. The numbers aren't that great. When you look at where we are right now, we're not reaching every child. We focus a lot at the National Math and Science Initiative on getting kids ready for STEM, because STEM has some of the best paying jobs and careers there are. My dad was an engineer. He grew up poor in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and the only way out of that ghetto was to go into engineering, and he worked his ass off so he could get there. Engineering and STEM education is the way out of poverty, but we're not reaching kids. Did you know that there were only 10,000 African Americans who took and passed a math or science AP in the country? 10,000 in the entire country, and only 50,000 Hispanics took and passed a math or science AP. I want to make sure I get the numbers right, but here in Tennessee, there were only 180 passing scores for African Americans and 416 for Hispanics. And some of those are probably kids that took 2 tests, because it is math and science, it's all the sciences. When we look at that, that's when we get discouraged. We say, we have got to do something different. And we have a bigger problem, because we haven't been honest with students and parents. We've been telling kids that they're proficient. Lots and lots of kids, we've been saying, hey, you're proficient. You're proficient on this assessment. But yet, only 50% of kids that go on to community college need remediation. 20% of those that go to 4-year schools need remediation. We have 70%. We've increased the graduation rates in this country. 70% of our kids are now graduating, but ACT says only 36% of them are ready for college. It's because we're a country where everybody gets a trophy for just showing up. And I'm from Texas. And we don't need your Common Core in Texas. We got 83% of our kids are proficient in Algebra 1. Match that, Tennessee. 83% of our kids can score a 38 on the Algebra 1 test. 38% is passing. But we're telling 83% of our kids they're proficient in algebra. And we're going to let them go on and go into careers and go into college, and that's when the door is going to hit them in the face. Yeah, you really don't know algebra. We gave them the Algebra 1 trophy for just showing up. And that's what we're trying to change. For the first time in a long time, this country wants to make systemic change in what's happening in our schools and how we're assessing kids. And it's going to be hard. And there's a lot of people that don't agree with it. But Common Core state standards are coming, and they're coming to Tennessee so we can stop lying to kids. And we can tell them the truth about where they are and then help them get to where they need to get. And it comes down to teachers. And you would think this is a ton of work. This is more work than education has taken on in years, and at the same time we want to assess how teachers are doing. But this is a ton of work, yet another large teacher group did a survey, and 75% of teachers said they want the Common Core. They're for the Common Core. They're ready to take on that work because they believe that it's better for students. They want less standards because in this case, less is more. Instead of teaching like this, we're going to teach like this and go deep. And teachers are ready for that. 75%. We had a teacher at a recent event that we held, and she said at the end of the training, "Can you just tell them to get their politics out of my classroom and let me teach?" I said, yes, we'll work on that, because we're going to focus on the one thing that really matters, and that's actively engaging students in rich content so they generate new connections and ideas, and they become more than an average student. Who's against that? They become high-quality learners when they're using Common Core, and they're going to see themselves as high-quality learners. They will be able to answer questions with confidence because you're going deeper into that content and you're making those connections. We're going to enable students to actually apply what they have mastered in the classroom and give you real feedback on the merits of the standards. And Common Core is opening the door to better professional development. All of us that work in professional development had to go back and redo what we do with teachers. And we worked at it so hard, that's why we got the contract with Park to then go out and train other teachers on how to train teachers in the Common Core. And my team of academics, and they're all teachers, they are just absolutely more excited than they ever have been. And when they work with other teachers, and we're working with 6,500 teachers this summer, those teachers are getting incredibly excited because they see the potential that the Common Core can bring to their classroom and what it's going to do for students. To make it a reality, though, we have to be more flexible and we have to be adaptable as educators. Not really our strong suit. But we see energy and drive everywhere in this. And educators understand that rigor that comes with the Common Core state standards really is going to help what they do in their class. And this is about teaching content that matters. It's about teaching content that is actually worth teaching. Done right, this is my favorite line, done right, teaching the Common Core state standards, no one will be able to claim that they're teaching to the test. We get rid of that. You're not teaching to the test because you're not teaching to 120 standards every single week. You're teaching deeper and you're teaching better and your kids are going to learn. It's no more teaching to the test. There is a test, and we can't do anything really without an assessment to see how we're doing, but it is no longer teaching to a test. Teaching content that matters to a much higher standard will make it worthwhile for you to come to work again. I see people that are excited about this. I know some of you are cynical. I'm probably one of the most cynical people in the world. I've been in education too long, and I really, really am cynical about what will actually make a change in the classroom. But I see this as that way there. And every time we work with educators, I see them getting excited about it because they believe in their kids and they want their kids to succeed. They want their kids to be college and career ready. And Park defines college and career ready. As far as college ready, it means that your students can take and pass a college level credit bearing course in math or English. That's a high standard. I don't think that's 38% passing on Algebra 1. That's going to be a very difficult standard to achieve. As far as career ready, it means a Zone 3 labor job, as defined by the Labor Department, which means you're able to make a living wage, you're eligible for advancement, and you're eligible for benefits. That's what we want for our kids, right? That's why we got into teaching and education. We wanted our kids to either go to college and not have to stop at the remediation tunnel that they may never get out of, and we wanted these kids that didn't go to college to be able to make a living wage and to have benefits and to be eligible for advancement. That's why we're here. That's why we want our kids to succeed. That's what the PARCC test is supposed to assess and get us to. And that's not going to be easy. One of the other groups, most of the teachers, though, that we find are ready to go to work. But 74% of you teachers are worried about that assessment. You're worried about the assessment coming before you've had a chance to change your teaching practice. So 75%, we're for this, we want to get there. We're afraid it's coming a little too fast. 2015 is right around the corner. In 2015, we're going to be reading the results, and the results are going to mirror NAEP, and you all have already made adjustments to your assessment to look at how these kids are going to look at the Common Core. So that's not easy. In 2 years, you have to dramatically change your teaching practice to reach more kids on a deeper level with these new standards. And I know that's tough. And I know people want to delay, but we still owe every one of those kids the ability to earn that living wage or go to college without remediation. However, 57% of you say your districts are getting there. They are getting prepared. People are moving. And I think Tennessee, we work in all 50 states, I think Tennessee is moving faster than most other schools or districts and states that we work with. Your teams are really, really pushing to get you there. So I see something that I've not seen anywhere else. And this is probably the greatest story right here. A couple of months ago, over 380 faculty from higher education here in Tennessee met with our academic teams to learn about the Common Core. They wanted to go deep for 2 days and really learn what they were going to have to do to change teacher preparation. Every university had somebody there in Tennessee. Now, first off, to get every university to do something all at one time is crazy impossible. But we were able to do that, and they wanted to do it. You can't make somebody do something they don't want to do. They wanted to be there. They wanted to find out what they had to do to change to make this a viable option and make sure that they were ready. So this is what they came away with. This is what they told us at the end. They understand that instruction had to change on campus, that they have to provide effective models of teaching and get away from the sage on the stage process. They get it. They can't sit up at the podium and teach like this and expect teachers to learn how to teach like this and get really involved with their students. They have to have more communication that has to take place between the College of Arts and Sciences and the College of Education. They get it. They saw the fact that this had much higher levels of content knowledge required, and they've got to change the way they work in order for these new teachers to have that content knowledge. They also need to share with other universities, and they need to talk to you more. They do get that. And they walked away with very specific, concrete action plans on what they were going to do differently at their colleges of education. Now, anybody that comes to a conference, like you are today, needs to walk away with concrete action plans. Otherwise, you're wasting this gorgeous Saturday for nothing. So I urge you, as you go through this conference, make sure you're writing down somewhere, what am I going to do differently because I came to this conference? That's why you're here. And they did that. So this is what the takeaways were from that training. Redesign our core coursework for elementary ed majors, more PD for higher ed staff on effective methods of instruction. We might even see graduation rates increase at Tennessee higher ed. They need to add more key courses and modify others. They need to work collaboratively across disciplines. And they're going to use the National Math and Science Initiative's model lessons that we gave them for Common Core that are open to anybody. That's a victory for Common Core right there. I don't care who you are. I don't care which side you're on. We have higher ed coming together and looking at ways to massively improve the way they prepare teachers for our schools, that's a big win. Now, we may have been able to do this without Common Core, but Common Core is driving that sea change that's happening across the country. And that's just an incredible result of what's going on. And they're doing it early enough that it could actually impact some of the teachers that are coming out over the next couple of years. That's a huge win, and it's a win for students. Not surprising, the higher ed folks, as they looked at the content, said that the kids that are coming into the university don't have the critical thinking skills to really teach this stuff. So the problem we're trying to solve is exasperating the problem we have. Because the teachers we need to be able to teach critical thinking aren't coming out of K-12 with the critical thinking skills we need. Common Core is going to help us change that. You're going to be able to teach critical thinking skills, and we're going to assess how well those students are doing. That is a huge win, and that starts the spiral going back up. We get better teachers because you're preparing better kids going into the teacher profession, and suddenly we start this spiral instead of that. But it doesn't stop there. A month ago, our academic team flew up and spent time with Williamson County School District. Their curriculum team had built their curriculum, and they wanted to talk with us about how the most critical aspect in this whole thing is how do we support teachers as they take this curriculum and translate it into classroom instruction. Now, out there in the political world, everybody's saying that this is a national curriculum and it's forced down them from the feds. I went to Williamson County. They developed their own curriculum, and they're developing how to bring that into the classroom. This has nothing to do with national curriculum. Our team started by discussing the fact that focus, coherence, and rigor, even though that's kind of the mantra for the math shifts, that's really what this is all about. Focus, coherence, and rigor. I don't think there's a lot of K-12 curriculums that went all the way up from K to 12 had focus, coherence, and rigor. But that's what they designed into this curriculum based on really deep diving into what the Common Core state standards are all about. And this is the definition that we use when we talk to people. Common Core is a laser focus on important content that is connected and builds in cognitive and instructional rigor across grade levels. That's a phenomenal statement. Show of hands, who's against teaching important content that builds in cognitive and instructional rigor across grade levels? That's why you got into teaching. Laser focus on important content that is connected and builds in cognitive and instructional rigor across grade levels. That's really what K-12 education should be all about. We want to build, it should be connected, and it has to be rigorous. The toughest question you have to ask when you go back to your classroom and you work with your administration is, what is rigor going to look like in my classroom tomorrow? We have to be more rigorous. You have to be to meet the challenge of the PARCC assessments that are coming out. So what is rigor going to look like in your classroom where you're not leaving kids behind, but you're giving rigor to all? We're not giving out trophies anymore for showing up. Kids are going to have to work. You're going to have to challenge these kids, and it's going to be a different place in your classrooms. And Tennessee is helping your teachers get there faster than anybody else. So you guys are going to be on the leading edge of what's happening. But you have to take all that training and start to apply it, and you have to define rigor in your classroom. We then look at literacy across curriculum. And this is when my team comes back almost jumping with excitement. They're getting the math teachers along with the art teachers, the science teachers, the social studies teachers, who's talking about statistics, the music teacher. They're all talking about each one of these standards and how they're going to reinforce and reference those standards in all of those classrooms. So when social studies is going through some of the statistics about a certain population, they're referencing and reinforcing those Common Core standards there. So we have these great meetings going on that have broken down the barriers between all of these subjects. And teachers get excited about this. They want to do that. The music teacher does want to get involved in Common Core state standards. So it's really amazing to see the energy that starts to create from really going deep on these. We want to look at literacy across the curriculum. You have to have nonfiction texts. That's social studies. Social studies can get involved in literacy and reading, close reading, and they have to understand close reading. That's going to make a huge difference in what happens in the English class. It's teaching as a team to get these kids the rigor they need to get those jobs or to get into college. Now, we also talked about wording. As we met as a large group, we no longer, even our team, we're supposed to be this great vertical team. We used to only meet in math and English in our academic teams. But during this process, we had to bring all the teams together. And the English team loved the fact that there was this mathematical practice, because it's really not just mathematical practice, it's the practice, the standards of practice or habits of the mind for all disciplines. It's getting that habit of the mind to understand what they need to do as they're working through this connected curriculum. That's a totally different way of teaching, and it's really involving all teachers to make sure we can get there. It's about challenging our students and telling them the truth about college and career ready. At the end of the training, we had each of them write up 3 things that they were going to do to help teachers in the classroom bring these standards to life. How they were going to support teachers. Because if we're not all here to help you, then we do fail. And we are here to help you. But once again, they took back 3 action items that they were going to do differently. And that's what you've got to do here today. You've got a lot of training. You're giving up your Saturday. Take home at least 3 actions that you're going to do differently in your classroom or your school that's going to make a difference for those kids. I had a great leader, too, that once told me that if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And I always used to think about that. I was like, wait, then it's on me to have the fun. It's not his fault if I don't have fun. So it's not our fault if you don't have fun today. If you're not learning and having fun, it's your fault. You can have fun doing this today, and you can learn something. I just went to a conference in Austin. It's kind of interesting, the 2 music capitals I was at this week. And by the way, they don't have to hold a candle to Nashville. Austin music's not that great. But it was a boring conference, and people just sat there like a schlub. They just sat in their seats. They weren't really doing anything. They weren't into it. It was not really a great conference. And I was on a panel on the last day of a boring conference. That's horrible. I didn't even want to be there. I wanted to go back out and grab a drink. But I stayed, and our panelist did an interesting thing. She flipped the panel, and she asked people ahead of time, let's try to get them involved because they're just looking like they're dead. We asked them to ask us questions first. What do you want to hear about? Why did you come here today to our panel to hear us? What do you want to hear about? And then I took that and I totally changed my remarks and did everything. My other 2 panelists did not. They just read their speeches the way they were, which now made me understand why this conference wasn't as good. But it was interesting because one of the people in the audience asked, how do we get businesses and politicians off our backs and let them understand that what we're doing in the classroom is making a difference? How do we get people to get their nose out of our business and let us go on with the business of educating our students? And it was interesting because I started thinking about that because I deal with these people, I deal with the politicians, we deal a lot with the business people. They're all, in a frenzy about what's going on in education. And what I told them was, well, these people only care about one thing, and that's results. And the results are getting better. More kids are enrolling in college. From 2000, college enrollment is up 37%. 87% for Hispanics and 76% for African Americans. We've almost doubled the number of kids going to college. Do you hear about that good news? Did anybody know that? No. But it is getting better. The economy is getting better. And you are actually the people that drive the economy. If we don't have a solid education system, then we don't have kids that can earn that living wage. And we don't have kids that are going on to college in the high-tech careers that we need. There are thousands and thousands of high-tech jobs that are unfilled right now. I got businesses pounding on us all the time saying, I got to have more people I have more workers. And yet we have high unemployment. We have kids that are graduating that are working in Starbucks because they don't have a degree that'll get them that high-paying job. So it's not just about getting those kids to college. We have to get those kids into college in the right degree that's going to help them really, truly move this country forward. And we are moving it forward. You're moving it forward. Things are improving. And with Common Core, they're going to improve that much more. Kids are going to get that deeper level of understanding. They're going to know how to connect what they're learning to real-life situations. They're going to be able to apply that knowledge when they get out in the workforce, and that's going to drive the economy even further forward. So you are the economy. It's not the Fed. It's not business. It's you getting these kids onto college or able to learn a living wage. One of the CEOs that I met is one of those great people that I talked at the beginning. And he got that misty-eyed look, and he started tearing up. And he said, you know, when a teacher believes in you, it's impossible not to believe in yourself. Thank you for believing in so many of Tennessee's students. Enjoy the conference. Yes. College? No. And I will take questions if you have them. I threw the papers down. I think it's 76 and 84. Yeah. Yes. I'm going to do the Phil Donahue thing, and only old people know what that means.
Can you say that last sentence?
Oh. When a teacher believes in you, it is impossible not to believe in yourself. Oh, you'll do the Phil Donahue?
I'll fill and you can talk. Anybody have any other questions? I can't sprint that.
I've got shorter legs. You should be able to get there at least half the time.
I went to a meeting that was people that had worked for presidents and people that are on school boards and that, and they said there's some big missing pieces in the Common Core because it was put out so fast. How is that going to be addressed? And they say the reason why it's not going to be necessarily readdressed quickly is all the states would have to re-ratify their agreement to do the Common Core if they change part of the standards. That can they individually go back in and insert standards, or are they going to leave it with these missing holes because they don't want people to bow out of the system?
I don't think it's because people want to bow out. Each state has up to 10% that they can change the Common Core and move around as they want to. It is difficult to get all these states to agree on anything. Anybody that sits, does anybody sit on the park group that's here? I'm looking at the two Tennessee people. I spotted you in the everything that park has to do, all 22 states have to agree we're going to do this. And it is difficult because each one of those states had to go through a standards review process and adopt those standards. So it would open that back up. But I don't think it's because they're worried that people are going to drop out. People are going to drop out. There will be a few more states that will drop out of Common Core state standards or drop out of park. That's a natural evolution of what's going on. It's difficult work. And I think but I don't think they're doing it because those holes are there. There is a review process. Once they get through and get the assessments done, they're going to look at that more and more and see what's going on. I know that's not a defined answer, but that's what we have right now. But it's not really because they're afraid of opening it up. Anybody could open it up in any state at any time. And states are already talking about, do we want to be in or not in, and it has nothing to do with whether or not the standards were opened up again.
David, thank you very much.
All right, 3 action items. Leave here with 3, and you've had a great, productive day. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We're going to move to the breakout sessions. I have had a couple people ask for a copy of the poem that I read earlier, Glennis Harmon. If you will send me an email, because I gave away my copy, if you will send me an email, I'll be happy to shoot you a copy of the poem. Steve steve@gillreport.com, steve@gillreport.com. I'll be happy to shoot out a copy of the poem to you as well. Also remind you again, check out the vendors and make sure that you patronize them because they are helpful in making these conferences go on and add the little extra benefits that we have. Also, one of the things that my company does, Gill Media, is we're actually consulting with some politicians, with school boards, and with others on the political implications of Common Core. As David mentioned, as the question is, there are states that are dropping out. The state of Alabama, I think by one vote, did not repeal Common Core. Texas didn't come in, but then they decided that them doing it their own way isn't working, so they've now repealed their own Common Core standards that they did without the national standards. Michigan has defunded it. North Carolina is considering the same thing, and it's likely to be a political battle here in Tennessee. If you're interested in some of the political implications that really and sometimes have very little to do with the standards themselves, but concerns about curriculum and testing and process and those other things, the problem is all those things are going to come to a head focused on Common Core. So if anybody's interested in kind of just getting a little quick political primer on what's likely to come, particularly here in Tennessee, what you can expect so that you can help, assure your parents and help make that distinction, or at least in my view, between Common Core standards and all the other concerns that people have. Again, it's curriculum, testing, process, the data mining concerns and issues. Those are all legitimate concerns, and I think that what we're seeing is that school boards and superintendents and advocates of Common Core that just kind of treat that as, with disdain or contempt, are digging a hole that will have a political consequence that may cause damage to the standards and the testing and training you guys are going through, because if they don't treat it right, they're going to get a backlash that may kind of head into a wildfire that they're not really expecting. And they recently had a Common Core meeting here in Williamson County. It may have been in this very building. 700 people turned out into almost a shouting match over Common Core. And anybody knows anything about Williamson County, you can't get 700 people to turn out if you're giving away free Lexuses. So the fact that 700 people turned out in an outrage over this, I think underlines what David is saying. People are concerned, they're interested, and if the policymakers kind of push that aside or poo-poo it or just go, oh, you guys are just crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, it will rev out of control, and you're going to get a backlash that may lead to a repeal or a pushing back at this stuff that may take some good stuff out with it. I know some of the concerns that some people have about the standards is that, it's too liberal. Well, I went and read through the social studies, history, literature list of reading list. As conservative as I am, and I'm a political consultant and a political activist, 90%, if I was going to draft a list, 90% is what I'd pick. How do you pick de Tocqueville and Michael Shera's Gods and Generals and Thomas Paine? How do you say this is a liberal reading list? So again, I think a lot of people aren't informed of what's actually in there. But if the politicians get stampeded by a public that's concerned, it won't matter what's in there. Bumper stickers will beat 25-page, white papers. So if anybody's interested, again, in kind of getting a sense of what's coming or how you can help manipulate that or help maneuver that in your own communities, I'm happy to sit down and talk with you or talk with a group of y'all about that as well. The breakout sessions, be sure you, again, hit the vendors. As David said, have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right and we're not doing it right.